Hey! Alright, wait, let me unmute you. Okay. Hello, mate. Now you need to unmute yourself. So I've allowed you to come on the broadcast, so click that. Yeah.
Sorry. All right.
Yes!
Nice to see you. I'm excited.
Mate, I was like, are we going to be able to do this in time?
Yes. Yes. I just finished. I literally just finished. I was like, oh my god, let's keep going.
And I was like, oh whoa, the screen is changing loads. I guess it's registering whenever we're speaking.
Yeah. There's a little sign that we're live. Are we live?
Yes, we are live, buddy.
All right. Well,
Don't
welcome everyone.
So supposedly people will get that link that I just sent you. I just put that to the email to the 27 people that signed up and put it on the meetup page. What about you from your end?
I'm checking if I have anything. Someone wrote me like, can you write me the address? I'm like, it's a webinar, so you can do it from home.
So what you need to do is to let anyone know from your end, if you go to that little man, can you invite people?
Well, I'll just send them an email real
Just
quick.
send them an email with the link that I just sent you.
All right. Well, okay. That is not really a link. It's just a. Okay, I'll try.
So, dude, man, are you ready?
Hell yes.
I just hope. I always just think, oh man, just logistics are gonna fuck up and no one's gonna find it. So, let me just. Yeah, I'll brief you then on what.
Yeah, can you send me the link? It just says that I can participate in this.
Right, no worries.
And then when I click it, it doesn't transfer the link. It just transfers the text.
All right, so I'm going to write in the chat box the link.
All right. I'll just take the comments from the other guy that I just finished the webinar. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, someone's in our call. Brilliant.
All right.
Hello, Medea. We'll be going starting live. Well, we're already live. We'll be starting properly in just over 5 minutes. So feel free to get yourself a cup of tea, or whatever beverage you prefer. Medea, do you want to say, if you can hear me, just say something in the chat box to the right of your screen.
Sam, did you send me the link again?
Yeah, do you see I just put it in the chat box?
Yeah, I can see it. Okay, perfect.
So see, Medea's just signed up, so we can't swear anymore, Jachym.
Let me just email my people also. So.
Well, this is the first time we've used Hangouts as well, Medea.
Oh, really? All right.
Are you getting that? Is this the screen just changing for you as well?
Screen? No, not really.
Must just be mine.
All right, email is sent. So whenever, whenever they come.
Look at you, mate. Looking all smart. Trying to kid the people you're not a tramp.
Oh boy, we're gonna have a good time. I can tell.
We are. We just got. I hope we get some more people on. People find it. Medea, was it easy to find? Did you come through the meetup group? Jachym, can you see the chat box on the right?
Yes, I can see the chat box. There's a comment I've never used Hangout, so.
Yeah.
Alright. What have you done today?
Huh?
What have you done today?
What have I done today? So, had a nice morning, got up, did my little routine, my exercise, bit of weights, some boxing, and then I went to the Buddhist temple around the corner, did a bit of meditation, and then I did some business shizzle, sorting out some visas, travelling, had a nice walk, and here I am. What about you?
Well, pretty much not the same, but I also got up. I prepared some of the webinar stuff. I planned some of my meetups. They're about to come because I'm schedule it ahead. Otherwise, I will be booked in other venues, and that will not be good because then the group will not have anything for me, and that's not good. Right?
Yeah. That is the thing. You're always like, oh, I've got to keep planning ahead. I'm following your advice and getting putting the laptop up higher.
Perfect. Yeah.
So, yeah, we just gotta wait, really.
Yeah. All right. So Medea, where are you from? Like, the name, is it a Czech name or? Yeah, I hate when the laptop doesn't do what I want it to do. Seriously, sometimes you want to just snack the technique.
Oh, have you got a cup of tea, mate?
A cup of water.
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Medea, have you got a cup of tea or something?
No.
I think we should unmute. I'm going to unmute Medea. I'm going to try and get you involved because no one else is here at the moment, so we might as well, rather than keeping you mute. Okay. Let's see.
This is recorded, right?
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, what might be happening is people might be watching via YouTube and then actually come to here because you can actually view it.
Yeah, but not everyone has a Google account.
I'm not sure if that's happening as well. Alright, Medea, you can unmute yourself if you desire. There's a little microphone button, but you have to unmute yourself if you want to. If you don't want to.
No.
Okay.
Hey! Hello!
Oh, I made it.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
I'm from Hungary. It's
From
not
Hungary. All right.
not.
Okay.
And it's actually from the Greek mythology. So it's
Ah,
not Hungarian.
nice.
How do you pronounce your name? Oh, hello, Ian. How do you
Hello.
pronounce your name?
Well, my parents made this joke with me. I was a little baby because actually it's a quite horroristic story in the Greek mythology. It's a Eurydice story. Medea killed his children, but actually I'm very peaceful.
Good.
So Ian, okay, Medea, I'll just put you back on. Lovely to speak to you, but I'll put you back on mute in case other people come and get confused. But thanks for sharing your introduction.
Awesome. I like it.
So Ian, yeah, we're going to wait another 5 minutes or so, just give people a bit of time to work out this madness called technology.
Yeah, it's not always easy.
How did you get on with the other webinar then?
It was fun. I actually have no idea how many people were watching. I was just going. We did it over Webinar Jam. It's still over Google Hangout, but there's like some, I don't know what the reason is for it, but yeah, it just shows the Webinar Jam. I guess there are certain advantages. I have no idea.
Is it better than this platform now?
Well, it's still over Google Hangouts, so I can't really tell the difference. I don't know exactly what the advantages are of the Webinar Jam. I will have to ask them. I will do that tomorrow. Where are you? Are you at home? Like, that's like, the brick thing? What is that?
There you go.
What's the brick thing? Like, the brick wall. Are you at home?
Yeah, I've got a nice fireplace.
Oh, alright. Hey, dude, we used to do that. We used to, like, have a fireplace when I was young, and we, like, took a big raclette cheese thing, and we, like, put it to the fire, and then you take the knife, and you scoop the melting cheese, and you put it on bread or potatoes or whatever.
Oh, fondue?
It was really cool. So that reminds me of that.
Beautiful, man. I love a good cheese fondue.
Yeah, well, the raclette is a little different, right?
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm on. Someone's watching through YouTube as well.
All right.
It's very voyeuristic, man. We don't know where we're being watched.
Well, and it says not just this one. Afterwards there will be millions of people watching you.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Yeah, Medea, your microphone. I muted you again, just to not confuse people. Yes, Ian, you shall remain anonymous. Except I know you. Alright, I reckon give it another couple minutes, and then we just got to go for it, I guess. And people can, to be honest, it's going to stream live on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then I'll just leave it on my channel, so you can then take that. I presume you'll be able to copy that on your send the link to any people your end as well.
Yes. I don't see anyone from my group haven't joined yet, so maybe they're on YouTube. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
So you record all the webinars you hold?
I've recorded most of them in the past, but not through this. I've never done the Google Hangout thing, so that's the first. Yeah, because I think it's it's quite handy just having all your content in webinar form. You just put that out to people.
But you still hold the webinars afterwards, like again, because you're already recorded, so people can just watch the recording. Or how do you do that?
True that, but I haven't actually put the recordings out there yet.
I see. Okay.
Keeping them hidden.
Okay.
The whole registration. Oh, did you have to register and download? Can you read the chat, Jachym? Oh, there we go. Whee, Belinda's in. Hello, Belinda.
Hello, Belinda.
Do you know what the did you have to register anything, Jachym?
I just had to agree on something. I don't know. I just had to tick a box, and then it went pretty smooth.
It went straight to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps if you don't have a Gmail account.
Maybe. Well, then you probably have to watch it over YouTube. Okay.
Or it was your first name and surname. Okay, cool.
Right.
Well, mate, would you like to start?
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, alright. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome, Medea, Ian, and Belinda to this cheeky webinar with myself and Jachym. How do I pronounce your surname?
Jachym Jerie.
Eh?
Jerie is my...
Jachym Jerie. Okay.
It's okay.
So, Jachym has kindly given up some of his time on this, what day are we on? Tuesday evening. We met quite recently in a coaching context, and we just really got on really quickly, really gelled. And as soon as we spoke, really, we thought we've got to pick each other's brains on our own specialities. And hypnosis is something which I've delved in a little bit myself, but I want to actually ask Jachym now today to share with us and with me his juiciest golden nuggets regarding hypnosis, and specifically how hypnosis can help you to improve your own confidence and your own peace of mind, two things which this group really focuses on. So I know there's a lot of links between the two, but I'm hoping Jachym's going to be able to make those links a lot clearer. So I'm just going to be picking his brains. He doesn't really know what's coming, so it's all good. It's going to be quite spontaneous. And what Jachym will do as well, I'm hoping, is give you guys some practical exercises that you can do in your life and immediately start implementing, and maybe even some right now in this next hour. In terms of questions, I'm sure you can all see the chat box now, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. So what we'll do is keep questions to an end till the end of the webinar. But if there's something really pressing that you just don't understand at all, or something doesn't make sense, then by all means write something. And if we can deal with it there and then on the fly, we will. If we think, okay, we'll just save we'll save that to the end, then we'll do that. So that is that's the little structure. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my friend and hypnotist, Jachym Jerie. Welcome, mate. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm sure we will have a great time, and I will absolutely share some fantastic exercises with everyone. It will be a high pleasure of me to enrich your life. And if you have any questions, any doubts, please let me know. I am sure I can handle it. I've already shared those tools with other people in live events too. So they've tried and tested, and I'm absolutely happy to share them with you. So thank you very much for the invite, Sam.
Beautiful, man. I love the way you talk, by the way. I love your voice. It's it's just like, I guess you're a hypnotist, so.
Yeah.
Well, tell me then, Jachym, can you just tell me and the guys here listening just a little quick intro about yourself, and what got you to where you are now?
Absolutely. I will go a little bit further back. Like when I was 12 years old, I was very curious, and I asked everyone, what is the meaning of life? And I especially bothered the adults with this question, and no one really could give me an answer. And back then, I was looking for an intellectual answer. I just discovered my intellect. I was like, give me this meaning of life, and no one really could help me with that. So I became kind of unhappy. I was like, why the hell am I here? No one really knows, but everyone does just stuff. And I had a very black and white mindset back then. So I was like, I'm being put into the stream. I just go to school, I go to high school, I go to university, I get a job. And back then I thought, most people hate their jobs and they just work for their weekend and for their vacation, and they're miserable in their life. Of course, now I've had different views, so I'm a little bit wiser, you can say, and I see that there are actually a lot of people who have done a formal education, who have a job, and they're happy with it. They have found their niche, they have found a way to be happy with what they are doing. So back then I went to a little quest, basically. When I finished high school, I was like, what should I do with my life? I don't want to go down the mainstream road, so I went to California to study martial arts. And I did it in a center, where you basically get up at 6 in the morning and you finish at 7 at night, and you train 6 days a week. And it's very secluded. Only 6 people were in there with a master. I had to go through a selection process and stuff like that. It was a great time, but after almost 3 years, I felt something's missing. I didn't feel that was the right place right there. Back then, I didn't know what it was. So I went back to Switzerland. But one important fact is that I started to do self-hypnosis at the center. I was lazy. I watched The Mentalist, who uses hypnosis in a different way that I'm using it now. But that started me to research it, and I found self-hypnosis, and I got great results with it. So I was back in Switzerland. I thought, maybe hypnosis is something I want to actually do as a profession, like become a hypnotherapist, a hypnosis coach. So I did my first course. I was hooked. I loved it, and that's basically started me on this whole quest. And from this first course, I've taken many. I've taken courses in Switzerland, Germany, Amsterdam, London. It's just all over the place. I've had different tapes, looking at them from. Igor Lechovsky is actually one of my main trainers. I have done a mentoring with him, which has just been like 6 or 7 people, a small group that we have. I had a lot of personal attention. I've put a lot of money and time into it. And in the end, it wasn't just me consuming the information, but actually also sitting down and looking what works for me, what works for my clients, how can I put this together. I found my own style. I also found how can I use certain tools from hypnosis to improve my life, but also other people's lives. So, a little bit into the self-help group. That's basically my background, and I still, to this day, I still keep taking seminars. I still keep investigating new techniques, new principles that I maybe have not discovered yet, and yet I also experiment a lot with myself and with people I do hypnosis with to see, what is going on, what really works, how do I get the results.
Okay, awesome. Well, I hope you're not trying to hypnotize me now at all.
Always.
Hours away. Okay, awesome. So I can definitely gauge you're pretty passionate about this, pretty hooked on this.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So with regards to building someone's confidence and helping one deal with anxiety, feel more at ease, what's the relation with hypnosis then? How do those two link? How are those factors?
Okay, perfect question. The thing is, hypnosis is something that's very natural and actually happens all the time in everyday life. Hypnosis has always a focus. So when you, for example, daydream, you're focused, you're absorbed in the experience. Yet it's not something that you do consciously necessarily. It just happens. It starts to happen, and you start to engage into the thoughts that are coming. You're basically sucked into it. And that's exactly what hypnosis does. It's something that happens naturally and that hits the other part of your brain, basically, the unconscious part. So how does this relate now to what you have said? I prepared a little card for that. I hope you guys can see. Yeah. All right. So there's a little X. Let me see. Right? Okay. The X means there's an incident in your daily life. For example, you had a bad day. You had an argument with your loved ones, your friends, your boss. I don't care. Something happened. For example, you fucked up, if you want to. Now, you start to think about this. So you say, oh my god, I'm a failure. Oh my god, why did I do this? My career is going to be destroyed. I'm going to have my family hate me. I'm going to stand up on the streets, yada, yada, yada. Okay, of course, this is a little bit extreme, but still the same principle applies. You start to become absorbed in a loop. And it's exactly where hypnosis starts to come in, because that is exactly self-hypnosis. You are focusing so much on the negative. you're so stuck in that loop, and all your attention is being absorbed that your body is physically responding to that. You feel shitty, maybe you feel pressure in your chest, maybe you feel tightening of your throat. There are many different physical things that can happen. Okay, so that's why hypnosis can help you to break that loop. So you can.
If I understand, when you actually say hypnosis, it'd be good to get an actual definition then, I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
But from what I gathered then, hypnosis really is about the conscious or unconscious, you're saying, because it happens all the time, focus. Simply the focus that you have in your mind. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, and there are many excuse me. There are many different definitions out there. From Milton Erickson, Igor Ledovsky, Dave Ellman, many different people that have put out definitions. There's no consistent definition that I would say, oh, this is absolutely great. The reason is it is a little bit difficult to put your hand on what exactly is hypnosis. In any definition you come by, there's focus involved, and there's some free expression of something involved, your unconscious mind. Maybe also an altered state. Okay, those are the things. So, for example, if we take Igor Ledovsky's definition, I paraphrase, it will be it's a very highly focused state where your unconscious mind can express itself freely.
I see.
So for example, when you go in a daydream, you don't make up, you're not like, all right, I'm going to daydream now about this and this and this and this, right?
And so,
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
It's much more of the daydream starts to evolve, and you're much more, being sucked into as a conscious mind. You're basically, you're going along with the track, but you're not like saying, oh, this and this and this has to happen. Okay. So it's basically an expression of the unconscious thoughts of the dream that starts to evolve.
And so I guess relating to confidence and just generally where your head's at, learning about hypnosis, and especially self-hypnosis, I'm guessing, will allow you ultimately to gain better guidance over your own subconscious, which at the end of the day drives everything, drives all your behaviors, all your emotions. It's really 95% or whatever, when they do that diagram, I'm sure you've seen, with the iceberg of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So I'm guessing hypnosis is a good area to look into if you want to improve your confidence, because it can help you to gain better control over your states of mind.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, though, as you start to involve with this kind of work, it suddenly becomes a little bit paradox, because you're trying to gain more control, yet you realize the more you just set the direction and you let go, the more wonderful things start to happen.
Now what you just said there, I love that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit like, this. Yes, I want to, you want to gain control, yet at the same time, you realize that by letting go, everything starts to fall in place much more naturally. So it's not like a forcing. You understand?
Yeah. I mean, that is I think already we've spoken quite a bit with each other, and I think you'll agree that that's what you just said there is pretty much the philosophy I try and abide by approaching anything in life. Just, by all means, having your best intentions to do this and do that, and achieve things, whatever, take action, but at the end of the day, to let go, completely let go, and become unattached.
Yes.
Because when you're unattached, there's no anxiety. You can't actually be anxious if you're unattached. Anxiety only comes if there's some sort of attachment to some sort of outcome that's actually just a fabrication in your own mind. But relating back to what you just said there about guiding and then letting go, can you relate that back specifically to someone who wants to improve their confidence, feel better about themselves, more strong, or more at peace? What could you give, like a specific example how they could use that philosophy?
Yes. Okay. So generally, we are taught by society to look more for flaws. So we have much more a negative thinking. It's like, okay, what can I improve? What is not good enough? Right? So, which has its value. I'm not, saying it's all crap. No, there's value in that. But we are so absorbed in always finding the flaw and trying to improve things that we miss that there's actually also things to be proud of, something that we actually value. So, to start to let go and start to put yourself into a nice direction, I want you to give you more choice in life. Okay? I want you to be able to say, okay, I can look at the negative side and see also what is improving. Improving doesn't necessarily mean it's always negative. But you can also go to the other side and say, okay, what is everything positive? Most people don't have a choice. They don't have a choice because they're so trained in just being unconsciously thinking about all the things that are going wrong, that they're basically trapped in a negative trance all the time, in negative hypnosis. Okay? So, to come back to my little card here,
I love these cards.
The thought leads to you being a little unhappy, right? So how do you actually now start to break it? You break the thought loop, you have more choice. One exercise that I recommend, it's not for just right now, but actually for your coming weeks, that you can do, to have a little wristband made out of rubber. Okay. I actually tried this myself, so I can tell it actually works. The idea behind this, that you grab this, whenever you're thinking nasty thoughts, you're like, oh my god, I'm a loser. That's a physical touch base that snaps you back into reality. You're like, okay. And then what I used to do is like, okay, what is positive? How can I see positive? Now I realize for certain people it's too big of a stretch to go right away into what is good about this. Like, oh my god, all positive thinking shit, and I don't want to deal with that. So what I figured out is, if you do this, first step is to think of something positive. So just put everything aside. What is positive in your life right now? What was the last positive things you've experienced? Okay. So for example, I went for a walk today. It was absolutely beautiful. And now you have suddenly two things that are going on. There's still the negative loop. Oh my god, I'm a loser, and there's like this picture of, this was something nice that happened. And then you can start to question, okay, what is good about this? What can I learn? What can I improve? What can I take from this situation right now? Instead of telling, why is this always happening to me? Why am I such an idiot? Why do I always fail? Those are questions that will lead you down into a, dark path somewhere where you will only get answers that will solidify your problem, solidify your state. Instead, ask questions that bring you out of that state.
Okay, so awesome. That's a really good practical way, and you never guess what, but I've actually done that exercise myself. I think we may have got it from the same route, because our mutual friend Marcus Oki, I got it from him, and I know he's friends with Igor as well. So I guess what I'm gauging is one of the major things we've got to start doing is actually waking up, is getting out of our own trances, especially if they're negative, and actually start having conscious choice, really, about what's going on in here, because at the end of the day, your internal reality is everything. Your internal reality literally is a mirror to your external reality. So for all the people who are always in these negative loops, feeling low self-esteem and anxious all the time, it's actually like you're saying they're hypnotizing themselves, and they're so used to it that they don't realize they have a choice.
Yes.
So to start getting that choice, then this elastic band is kind of a way of waking them up and going, oh, hang on a minute, I've got a decision here. Maybe I can think of something positive. Now, is that going to be easy for I mean, is this maybe not an easy question to answer, but how easy or how hard is it for someone to break severe negativity? And do you have any extra advice to come from places of real negativity?
Yes, okay, so this is an exercise I've done myself. I have been in a quite good spot in my life also, so it has worked very well for me. I have clients, and I give my clients homework. So of course I give them homework like this, because I get more experience from it. And I realized, for example, with clients who are depressed, it does not work as well. The reason why is because they do not realize in the moment that they are actually doing it. So the client came back like, no, it's all nice and good, but like I realized a day or two later that I was basically, trapped in this. Depression now is a very good example, because they are so focused on everything negative that they're so in this trance that they don't even realize what the hell they're doing. So in this case, different measures are important, especially with depression, but that's a whole different field. Generally speaking, we have a triad with mind, body, and emotion. M for mind, B for body, and E for emotion. And those are all things that can break the loop. Especially mind and body are two things that can break the loop. One thing is this, right? Now we think. So we have physical, body basically. I have also mind engaged. Right? The thing is, if you're too involved, it doesn't make sense to start doing this kind of work. If you notice, what I also noticed, I was like in a really bad state, but I didn't want to get out. Like I was like, oh my god, I don't want to I don't want to like see it in a different light. It just doesn't work. Oh, come on, bullshit.
Yeah.
So what I realized is walking doesn't work. I've tried it, and I start walking, and then I'm like, oh my god, life sucks. Oh my god, So it didn't work. But what I realized, if you combine walking with your breath, so you inhale with your breath, with each step. So you inhale, right? So for example, 4 or 5, whatever count you want to go. And you can even add fingers, so you can go like this. Something I've actually taken from Tony Robbins, not thrown on my thing, okay? So you're so absorbed in actually counting, doing the fingers at the same time, keeping up the steps, that you don't have time to actually worry about it. And it puts you in a better state. So that's when you actually realize that you are in a negative state, but this is just too weak at the moment. It can become very powerful once you actually practice it every day and you get used to it. It can actually snap you out of very bad states quickly. But that's when you have to build it up. So at the beginning, you might need the tool of walking, for example.
Okay, so basically the more severe, let's say, the negativity is, the more you've got to implement the body or the mind or emotion. You've got to implement more external factors.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Also, now going back to depression. So I'm going a little bit more deeper than usual here. But basically, when you're so absorbed that you are not realizing at the moment that you are doing this destructive thinking patterns, what I advise is that each night you have a diary and you write down what happened today. How did I relate to those things? So you start to come out of this trance because you start to observe it. At the beginning, it will be at the end of the day. The more you practice it, the more you're priming your brain, your unconscious mind to like, oh, hey, wait, he wants to actually spot those events, right? And it's important that when you write it down, you're not like, oh my god, you're an idiot, why did you not spot it? No, that's absolutely wrong. Don't do that. You just notice, okay, there and there, I was actually in a negative thought. Now I'm thinking about it. I wasn't actually in a bad state. And then you can go back in your head, and imagine the situation. Okay, when it started to happen, and play it the way you want it to go. So mentally, you make a picture. You can call it visualizing. You just have to get a sense. You don't have to see a clear picture in front of your head. It's just like, let's do the exercise, for example. Everyone, can you think of your home now in a room that you're not sitting in, for example? All right, everyone can imagine. I can imagine my kitchen. You can imagine your kitchen? Yeah, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can imagine how, when you go to your front door, how would it feel if the doorknob or the handle is somewhere up high, or suddenly down low by your knees. You can imagine that, right? You can, I don't know, it feels kind of awkward if you think about it, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going into trance.
And that's all. That's all that is required. So there's no big visualization that you have to go through. It's just getting a sense of the situation and play the situation the way you wanted it. So you're basically retraining your brain, so when the same situation occurs, you're much more likely to react the way you want to react. Now this is very severe anxiety where you're so trapped inside, just to be clear.
I see. So you can use this sort of self-programming as almost like preparation for the battleground, let's say, so that you're much more prepared when it does come to any kind of distress or despair. You've done your training. You've put your hours in of reconditioning your mind. so you're going to be able to deal with the consequences a lot more with your actual own choice, let's say, rather than just the conditioning that you may have picked up from childhood or from some traumatic event that may still be lingering in your mind.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you made me think of something else. What was it? Yeah. So it seems to be as well, a good point is that every time you do go into a negative loop about your confidence, anxiety, or stress or something, instead of feeding that negativity even more and going, oh, bloody hell, feeding that ego even more, you saying start writing a journal about it, but use it almost as a blessing. Almost think, right, this is my trigger, this is my warning that, or my chance to practice my own conscious control and guidance over my mind. This is actually a blessing. So every time you feel negativity, you can actually turn it into a positive straight away. You can go, that's my training wheels.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, because you're writing it down, you're not judging it. You're just writing down, okay, I was negative there, I was negative there. You're just noticing it. That's okay. Yeah. Because eventually it will change. The thing is, where focus goes, change will happen. Now, if the focus goes into a negative direction, it will solidify. Maybe if it's already in a negative side, it will solidify this. There's still change, but it's solidifying it, the negative thing you want to get rid of. If you start to just be aware of it, and you know that you want to go into the positive direction, it will start to change into a positive side. Because that's what naturally happens in our brain. Our brain is a constant reorganizing organ, basically. The thing is, if I lose my hand, and I've studied a little bit of psychology at the University of Zurich, if I lose my hand here, the neurons that are used to guide my hand are not just lost. They aren't just, chilling out in the sun. They're actually being redistributed to different functions, which basically means that our brain reorganizes itself. So when you have an intention, you set an intent of changing something, you start to notice what your current behavior patterns, it will change.
I see. So it's about, again, like we said right at the beginning. Welcome Martine, by the way, and Atul, who's just come on board.
Yeah, welcome, guys.
So, hey. I can see you, Martine, in this little black square at the bottom.
Yeah, hello.
Atul, you've just got a nice little picture of you there posing. Who knows what you look like underneath that? There he is. There he is. Hello, Atul.
Hello.
So I've lost my train of thought now.
Okay.
What were we saying?
We were talking about the negative. God, I lost it completely too.
No, so yeah, writing it down, viewing it as a blessing. So whenever you get any negativity, think, oh, awesome! I'm actually aware of it. Because what tends to happen is, with what I see in a lot of just generally individuals, is that people. Oh, Atul. Oh, Atul, I think you're. Right. Okay, I think we're good. Atul was one somehow overrid the system. I don't know how he did that. So what I was going to say is that a lot of people actually identify so much with their negativity, so they believe they are their negativity. They believe they are their mind. So when they get that loop of, oh, I'm a loser, oh, I'm not good enough, what's going to happen, oh, another mistake, they're so, as you said, unconscious and in that hypnosis trance state themselves that they believe that is actually them, that's their identity. So what you're saying as well, and what I'm a big advocate of, is stepping back, all right, being a bit more of an objective scientist, let's say, and just seeing the contents of your mind for what they are, not having to label them per se, and just writing them down in a diary can help give you some space between you and your mind rather than just being consumed by them and thus being falsely identified with them. So it means that when you do go in a negative, you feel that negative emotion because of your negative thinking, you can think, awesome, blessing alert, because now I'm aware of it. Now I'm actually in the game. Beforehand, I wasn't in the game. Beforehand, I would be the negative thinking. Now I'm aware of it, and thus I have a conscious decision to do something about it. I'll ping my elastic band. I'll go write in my diary. I'll go take a walk. I'll replace it with a positive thought. Are there any other exercises that come to mind when it comes to turning the negative into the positive?
Absolutely. One thing that we highly focus on in hypnosis is reframing. Reframing, it's a big technical term, and let me explain it to you. It's basically, let's imagine you see a burning log somewhere, right? And now
Burning log.
Log.
Yeah.
Yeah, wood log, right? Now the camera zooms out, and you see it's actually part of a big fire that is consuming a house. It's burning the house, right? Now, when you see the burning log, there's different emotions than when you zoom out and you suddenly, oops, and there are screaming people in the house. The emotion starts to change. But it changes again when you zoom further out and you see, it's part of a movie set. Right? So those are reframes, basically. You suddenly have more content. It suddenly is put into a different context. Right? So when it comes to your negativity, especially specific events, now a lot of the things that people do is they start to interpret things into situations that are not there. For example, I got fired because they are rejecting me. They're rejecting my personality. That's why I got fired. Now, if you don't have actually a reason, it's just what you think, you put it into. But the way you put it into the situation makes you feel bad about yourself. So maybe you got fired because of a totally different reason. What could be other reasons why you got fired that are actually beneficial? Those are reframes when you start to think about different ways to see the situation.
Yes, very powerful, and that's something that reminds me of something similar I do with my clients as well. We always think of what is the actual worst case scenario. I call it the doomsday scenario, the actual worst case scenario, and let's get it out of here first of all, and actually either verbally speaking or writing it down, because that again puts some space between you and the thoughts. And often it could be something like, I'd lose my job. It depends on the scenario, obviously, but people will really laugh at me. They'll think I'm strange. I'll get nervous. Often the doomsday scenario isn't as bad as they think when they actually get it out. But then what's interesting is when we do what you just said, really, when we think of alternative solutions, just alternative possibilities, so reframes. And again, it's not coming from a place of, we've got to be uber positive and pretend that there's no negativity.
Yeah.
But it's just coming from a place of more objectivity, being like, well, there's some negative scenarios that could happen. There's also some positive scenarios that could happen. More like kind of, there's apples in the fruit bowl and there's oranges in the fruit bowl.
Yes, absolutely. And that's crucial. Now, to make it more practical here, it sounds all good and dandy, but I actually want you to get benefit out of it. I want to cover the first, the physiology. I want you to actually experience what it means if you change your physiology. Because when you actually look at it, one way our emotions are constructed is by our thoughts, but also by our body. So if you're having an interview and you're sitting there, you have a different physiology than when you're feeling powerful. Now, there actually have been studies that show that when you when you feel powerful, so for example, you have an interview and you go 2 minutes into the bathroom, you do some kind of power stand where you're spread out, a state that you feel powerful. It's actually on TED Talks. You can see.
Yeah, I remember. What was that? I've seen that one. What's her name? Marie. Oh, I've forgotten her name. Yeah.
I forgot. But basically, different hormones are being released just by changing your physiology. So changing your physiology is actually a very useful way to break that loop. Now, to experience that, you can all, open your arms and look up and smile. This is the participant exercise. So, and now you can try to convince me and say, I'm so depressed, and try to convince me while you smile.
I'm so upset. I'm so depressed. It doesn't actually. I actually do feel like I'm obviously quite excited anyway, but that actually did just send a little jolt.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. You can't do it now when you do it the opposite way, and you're like all slouched over, feeling like sad, and you say, I'm feeling so happy. And you can try to do it convincingly. So I can say, I feel so happy. It just doesn't work. I just can't do it. And if you do it at home, you will see the same thing. It is very hard to actually say something, and convincingly, if your physiology is different, so to snap yourself out of that state, sure, this is great, to start to have a physical reminder and then do something with your head, with asking questions, doing reframes or something like that. But there's also very much value in just changing your body state and staying inside of it.
Awesome. Attil's just shared the name of the TED Talk. The woman's called Amy Cuddy. I remember that name now. It's a good TED if you haven't seen it already. Okay, awesome. So yeah, we've got a lot of things going on here. We've got reframes, changing of physiology, these elastic bands, like just being aware that you're in trance in the first place. That seems to be a huge thing, just actually being aware, whoa, I've just got myself in a little bit of a trance. That must be a huge step when you start, well, I know it is a huge step when you start disidentifying with your mind. Now, can you, if I just ask you, what would your 3 biggest tips be on reducing anxiety? And maybe you've already covered them already, but does anything come to mind if I say your top 3 tips, practical tips?
Yes.
People to take.
One thing we have, I mean, we've touched on it, but we haven't really discussed it in depth, is quality of questions.
Ah, that was my next question. So beautiful, yeah.
If you feel that you're not confident, you can ask yourself the question: why am I not confident? In my opinion, that's not a good question, because it will give me a reason. Oh, I don't feel confident because my mother has just sucked at bringing me up. Well, great, nothing you can change about that, right? A better question would be, what can I do, or what happens that I feel not confident? Like, how do I know I don't feel confident? Now the answer is much more, okay, let me think about that. Actually, it's in this situation, when I'm with my coworker, I feel like I can't speak up. Now there's this feeling here that holds me back. Now that's actually something you can start working on. You have something physically that is holding you back. Now the next question could be, what is happening? What's really happening? What's happening with my thoughts when I feel this feeling? Right? That's again a very different question that will produce different results.
Okay.
So instead of finding reasoning for why it is this way that it is right now, you're looking for solutions. You're also exploring, what is happening exactly. You also look for solutions.
Right. So you're saying that. So one way to improve your general state is to be more aware of the type of questions you're asking yourself, and you don't want to ask questions that are just going to give evidence for the negativity, because your mind will always be able to justify its thoughts. The mind actually works in a very, I'm sure as you're aware, the subconscious mind, a lot of people think there's this like, ooh, it's so irrational and a bit airy-fairy, but actually the subconscious mind is incredibly logical. It's just that logic may just be really in the wrong system, but it's working still from A plus B equals C format. So you're saying don't give your mind the chance to justify and thus make the reality seem even more concrete. Like, oh, why does this always happen to me? Because then it will just give you a ton of answers. Oh, because I've always been like this at school, or I've never been this person through that, or I failed in my GCSEs, or whatever. So instead of asking those questions that are just going to justify that negative reason, you're saying ask questions that are looking for solutions.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you want, do you have any small thing that you would love to discuss, or anyone here? I can demonstrate how questions will change how you look on things.
Are you saying you can do some sort of demonstration of that?
Absolutely. It's my job. I do it every day.
Okay. So can you do it with me, or can you want someone else to do it with you?
Whatever you prefer.
All right. Well, I think if someone wants to type in the chat box, if someone wants to go through this with Jachym now, then I'll unmute you temporarily to let Jachym do his thing. So does any one of you guys want to take the opportunity? Just write yes in the chat box, whoever says it first. Oh. Is anyone going to step up? Is anyone going to show confidence? Okay. Fine. Well, if no one wants to do it, then I guess I'll have to do it myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
what would be an area you want to improve, or something you're willing to share, you're willing to discuss here?
Okay. Let's say when I do some open mics, when I do sing in public, and if I get nervous and I think, oh God, like, I start worrying about how I'm going to perform or something.
So if I just repeat, so when you're singing in public, is that right?
Yeah. Okay.
So what is important that you sing in public for you?
Why is it important? It's just a beautiful experience. It allows me to express myself, express my creativity. It's just so thrilling to do. It brings me really to become very present as well.
Yeah, okay. So it makes you present, and it's a tool to express yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So at what point do you feel the feelings you feel when things that are holding you back?
I guess the nearer it comes to going up on stage, so maybe like I'll get some nerves maybe like 20 minutes before, like low level, and then just like a couple of minutes, or the minute just before, might rise quite a bit. Yeah. That's what
okay, so what about the situation is it that triggers the discomfort?
I believe it's my thought pattern of, shit, we're going up on stage.
Yeah. So the thought pattern is, oh shit, we're going up on stage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what association do you have to the stage?
What association? I guess there is pleasure and excitement.
Yeah.
But there is also an element of nerves as well. So it's all of those mixed together.
Okay. So when you're now thinking about that, your thought patterns are generating this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you have now that you didn't have before? What kind of power do you have now that you didn't have before?
The ability to change my thought patterns about them.
Yeah. Okay, so you can change your thought patterns, right?
Okay.
How would you like to change your thought patterns?
I guess I'd like to eradicate any kind of negative fear from the stage and have it, instead of it being a 50-50 mix, it being like 100% positive.
So let me ask you this. What do you not notice when you go on stage that will actually make it a more pleasurable experience?
What do I not notice?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't notice the people as much initially because I'll be in my own head more, or I won't notice my breathing as much.
Yeah. Okay. So the people, your breathing. When you think about the people and you imagine yourself now going on stage, what happens?
If the focus is on the people, then I'm getting a bit excited.
You're getting excited. All right. Cool. Exactly. But then, do you see now? We don't have to. I just want to give you a short demonstration to actually show you powerful questions. I mean, all I'm doing is, I'm curious about what's going on and what you're not noticing. Because whenever we are in a situation, there's only as much information we consciously can process. There's not that much information we actually can. How do you call it? You can actually. Have it in your brain. Consciously, you can only have 5 to 9 bits of information at the same time. While unconsciously, you have many, many more informations. So something happens that makes you fearful. Things that you're noticing. It might be in your head, might be in your body, might be outside of yourself. Right? But there are many, many things that you're not noticing that helps you actually enjoy the experience.
So again, it all comes down to that core principle of taking conscious control and guidance over the focus.
Yes, and at some point,
letting your brain just get on with it, but have that conscious guidance over the focus.
Yes, at the beginning, yes, you can do that. You will see that, especially if you do coaching with hypnosis, that the client will not have to take conscious control over the focus. You can actually start to guide the unconscious focus, so it becomes something natural for the person. It's not something they have to force. I don't want them to have to force something onto them. I don't want them unconsciously be focused on this thing, constantly trying to focus on this thing, and they're like, oh my God, you know. I fight in between. I actually want something that brings harmony to the person, you know, lets them work as a whole. So, especially with hypnosis, at the end, when you go on stage, the thing is you will unconsciously start to focus on the things that actually bring you pleasure.
I see.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference there. Right?
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm actually feeling quite excited to go off on stage now.
Yeah, I haven't even started really working on it yet.
Well, what's kind of clicked with me as we were doing it was just, you know, I kind of knew this already, but you really emphasised it. At the end of the day, we really do create our own reality. We really do create our own reality, like completely. Like the Matrix kind of style. We create it through our own thinking. And people think that it's the experience or the event that is causing the anxiety, the low self-esteem, all the rest of it. But it's not. It's our thinking, our story that we attach to the event. And that event might be your life. So it's just crazy. It's making me think, right, that stage, when I go up there, it's my decision if there's any kind of negative association with it. Because at the end of the day, it's me who can take conscious awareness over my thinking and retrain it. Yes, if they're really negative habits, it may take a bit of persistence. That's actually a good question then. How would you recommend then keeping up someone who's got a really ingrained habit? Do you have any tips on how to cultivate that determination, that persistence? Because I think a lot of people, like including myself, will start doing things, you know, the elastic band, or I've done many self-hypnosis things for myself as well, which I want to ask you about too, if we've got time. But often, you know, we do it for a week and then we don't do it anymore. And then we might go slip back into old habits. Have you got any tips on keeping yourself in line? It
is the question of if I have tips on keeping the habit of, like, for example, self-hypnosis, or what is exactly the question?
Just any kind of habit in general that people might take from this webinar, and just in general to improve your mindset, to install, to reprogram. Yeah, so in a sense, self-hypnosis.
Yes.
How do you keep up with the habit?
Yes. So it again comes back to actually using you know, your mind and reprogramming it. And there have been psychological studies that have shown that when you attach an action to a previous action, you're much more likely to do it. So instead of telling me, I'm going to go exercise tomorrow, that's not enough. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to exercise tomorrow when my alarm goes off. Now that is a specific event that happens.
Ah, I see.
It's very, very different. My alarm goes off, and that's actually something you should play in your head. So when I will close my eyes, and I'll hear the alarm off. I may feel the blankets, for example. I see myself getting up, and I do the exercise. So I rehearse it before I even do it, before it actually happens, right?
Ah, I see. So mental rehearsing of that.
Yes.
Because now the alarm, and then I'm doing the exercise after. Then when that actually happens, you've primed your brain again.
Yes. Absolutely, because now you don't have to think about, you know, oh, I still have to get the exercise done somewhat today, you know, like when am I going to fit it in and stuff. No, it is related to a specific behavior. I close the door, I get on the floor, and I do 10 push-ups, for example. So it is related to a specific event that is recurring in your day, especially if it's a habit you want to regularly do. It has to be recurring, right? It's brushing your teeth, for example. You put down your toothbrush, you do your exercise, you do self-hypnosis, whatever it is.
I like that. So you're piggybacking on the momentum of something which is already an ingrained habit.
Yes.
I really like that. I think I'm just thinking now how I can implement that myself.
Yes, that is absolutely something I can recommend. And it has been shown. There has been studies shown that it is much more likely that you actually follow through with it. You know, and do actually the behavior afterwards, because now your brain's like, oh, okay, yes, I have to remind me because I just did that.
Awesome. Okay, well, before we, because I want to give a bit of time for maybe if there's any questions, but I want to ask you before that, regarding self-hypnosis then,
Yeah.
which is essentially just reprogramming your brain, taking more conscious control, guidance over your thought patterns, which thus create your whole reality. So will determine whether you're confident or not, will determine whether you feel at peace or not. What would be the best way for people to get started? Because it might be quite overwhelming for people. I know it was for me when I first heard the term hypnosis, self-hypnosis. I thought there's a bit of a like, ooh, what's that? That sounds a bit hard to get into. How would you recommend getting started?
Good question. Now, if you want to practice formal self-hypnosis, I do recommend either go to a seminar or buy some kind of tape, or get some kind of coaching on self-hypnosis if that's what you really want to do.
Do you have a good, sorry to interrupt, do you have a good resource, like
Yes.
like a free resource, an online resource, or a cheap resource? Like that for people?
That I would have to look up. For me, the self-hypnosis system from Igor Ledachovsky has been very well worth investing into.
Did you write that in the chat box for the guys?
Absolutely. All right. So, the power of self-hypnosis for guaranteed results. Now, I've taken, I've listened to it, I've applied it to myself, good results, and I'm not teaching some kind of version from that. I'm not teaching exactly the system, but it is the foundation I've built on my self-hypnosis seminars I'm holding now in Switzerland. I also held it in Toronto. Maybe someday I will hold it in London. Who knows? But I definitely recommend that. It's a great system, and the thing is, it covers much more angles than other self-hypnosis systems. So it's not just about giving yourself a suggestion, I feel good, I am a great person. That's a suggestion. It goes way beyond that of actually knowing I am in trance, knowing how to set actually the goal, how you make sure it has no dirt attached to that goal. You're not just chasing a shell. That's a complete different webinar we could hold right now about actually how do you set a proper goal and make sure that you're not chasing after a shell and not the nut inside. Chasing after Ferrari, but really you're chasing after the feeling Ferrari is going to give you. So this kind of stuff, and also troubleshooting. So there's a lot of things covered in the program. I can definitely recommend it.
Okay, so but can you give anything, like any steps now? Just say after this, I just want to go and try something by myself to start reprogramming my mind in a healthy way. What would be fundamental tips I could take away to do that?
The fundamental tips is
sit down. Step 2, you know.
Yes. Okay. So step 1, get your AM breath. The AM thing, your thing here.
Okay.
Because the self-hypnosis is great, but you actually can also take action in your daily life, which is even more powerful in my opinion. It's not just you sit down, have your formal session, but you actually take daily steps every day during your day, which I find very powerful and generates change very quickly. Now, if you actually want to do self-hypnosis, there are different ways to do self-hypnosis. What I can recommend to you is, if you have experience with meditation, it is basically the same state. If you don't have any experience with meditation, you're completely new to this field, you can also just buy a relaxation CD. Okay, that's a cheap investment. But before you just listen to the relaxation CD, you actually write down what you want to achieve. Now, when you write it down, very important, it's one thing. It's not 10 things. It's not like I fixed my life in one session. No. It's one thing. One specific thing, right? More confidence, for example, or healing power. For example, you have some kind of physical issue that you want to improve. But it's one thing that you specify and that you can write on. So you can write, okay, confidence. You can write out how am I feeling right now in the situation I want to change, and then you write out, what are the things you actually want to have, right? By doing that, you're basically already priming your mind to keep working on that. It's like when you ask a question, or when you want to say something. You're in a bar, for example, and you're like, I want to say that, but it doesn't come out, right? You take a shower, and it's like, damn it, that's what I wanted to say, right? That's because our brain keeps working on it. If you ask questions, it keeps working on it. If you don't get an answer right away, it keeps working on it. The same thing when you start actually to set your goal and you have, okay, if this one specific outcome, and you start to write it down, and you listen to relaxation afterwards, you're basically giving space. You don't have to think about anything in that. You just relax. But your brain will keep processing this information. That's probably the easiest thing I can recommend to you right now, without going into the whole self-hypnosis topic, because that's
of course we could do another. Well, you just give me an idea for another webinar.
Yes.
But from what I gather, then, and from my own experience with self-hypnosis, I've dabbled in it a fair bit myself, and it is exactly like meditation, this state of mind.
Yes.
So really, all it is getting yourself in a relaxed state of mind where the thoughts have slowed down a bit, where there's space between you and your thoughts, so you're feeling nice and relaxed. That state of mind actually might be quite alien to most people.
Yes.
Getting to that state of mind, then it's like you said, you don't really have to necessarily think, but you've just created the space, a little gap, to access your subconscious mind, which is the powerhouse of all change. So once you've gone into that state of mind, then it's just about implanting that one thing at a time, you're saying. Then that's a good point there, not trying to go, because I can imagine lots of people going, well, I want to change this, I want to be confident, but I want to be this, I want to have a new that, I want to this. So it's just choosing one thing, creating the space, the relaxed state of mind, which, depending on how often you do it, you can really get there within a couple of minutes with practice. But it might take 10, 20 minutes when you begin. And just having that focus, whether it's just repeating it to yourself or watching something on a piece of paper or a video or something like that. But would you agree with what?
Absolutely.
Am I talking crap, or is that in accordance with
No.
the diploma?
It is a different version. The reason why I recommend to just do it at the beginning and then do the relaxation is because you don't have to think about anything. So there's no thing of, oh, I don't think I can achieve it, or something like that. The bullshit is all outside.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying there are two versions I know of self-hypnosis. Basically, you set it and you forget it by relaxing, just going to that state, and it will work out, because I said it will keep working. Or you create the space and do it in the space.
I see. So actually, it's you just literally do before, and then you let go of it, and let your brain just naturally do the work, which is what you said right at the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, set that intention, set that focus, trust in your brain to figure it out. It's almost like we've got to aim the gun, but we're not the bullet. That'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. It's very true. The bullet will go. And I've just experienced it myself. It was crazy. I can now sometimes set intention for the day. For example, I want to work something through, and I literally can notice sometimes during the day, oh yeah, it is. I feel it. It's something in me is working out. It's transforming without me having to worry about anything. Now that's of course because I've done a lot of coachings with myself, with other people, and I've done self-hypnosis. But you can get to that stage where you're like just setting the intention for a day, and it will start to work out itself. At the beginning, I do recommend just choose one goal, write it out, set it, forget it, relax. And it will happen. As said, your brain is an organ that reorganizes itself. And for me, that's the most beautiful sentence for me, because it's like opened my eyes to why the hell even coaching and all this stuff works. Because you start to create the framework where change can happen naturally without you being in there and trying to fix everything. It's like a ship. The conscious mind is the captain. You say where you're going to go. But the captain doesn't run around scrubbing the floor, shoveling coal into the engine, whatever. That's not the captain. The captain says where you're going to go. He gives instructions, and then the crew does the rest. And that's how the unconscious mind works. The unconscious mind is the crew, is the ship. And once you actually start to become in tune with yourself and you start to trust yourself, that's what you're going to do. You're going to set the intention, and you're going to forget it. And that's it's very powerful.
That's beautiful, mate. I really enjoyed that last minute or two there. It makes so much sense. Because I can imagine that a lot of people will think, oh, we'll be trying so hard. This is what I've gone through myself, and really mucked myself up at times, where you've just been with good intentions, but you just try so hard all the time, like, oh, got to think this, got to think that, got to be this. You get in the whole self-development loop. It can be a double-edged sword, because you can start thinking, oh, I've got so many things wrong with me. Oh no, I need to improve all the time. Oh God, I need to be stressed. I need to be doing something. I need to be proactive. I need to be successful. And actually, real success is just really in line with what you said, in my opinion. It's setting your intentions, making sure those are good intentions, and just letting go.
Yeah, and the thing is that when you're running around, you don't think I have to do stuff. Who's saying where to go? Where's the captain? Well, the captain's down somewhere doing work that he's not supposed to do. Right? So who's gonna look out for where to go?
Exactly. Brilliant, man. So I'm gonna bring it to an end there because we're getting to an hour. Before I ask if anyone wants to ask questions, just to sort of summarise what I've heard. Really, what I think it comes down to is hypnosis is a great tool to become the captain of your ship.
Yeah.
Become the master of your mind, or the strong guide of your mind, which is one of my fundamental principles that I'm trying to spread as far as I can in the world, because most of us think we are our minds and we are slaves to our minds.
Yeah.
So, and it's not about that. It's about going, all right, mind, I see your little games, but I'm not going to take that as the gospel anymore. I'm actually going to have a say in the matter. I'm going to take back my own ship. And I think it is important to say, which you kind of did adhere to, that it's not necessarily going to be really easy at the beginning, because if your mind's used to running the show, it's going to take little steps. But little by little, the more you set that guidance, that firm guidance, I think is a good way of putting it, the more that your mind will start actually following you rather than the other way around. So you may be in a position where you don't even realise you're pretty much being controlled by your mind, not to freak you out too much. And yeah, other things then that we've talked about here, and do tell me if I've missed anything, we've talked about the power of reframing. So how to actually, yeah, okay, there might be some negative possibilities or ways of viewing it, but let's look at the other side of the scale. Let's see some alternative possibilities that could be just as realistic. We've looked at the types of question you ask yourself. So not asking yourself questions that are obviously just going to feed that negative loop that can be justified in any scenario. People have negative self-fulfilling loops. I mean, they're called self-fulfilling loops because they literally will be able to be fulfilled in any scenario. So it's about replacing those questions with ones that are looking for solutions or positives or benefits. We looked at, what else did we look at? Changing of physiology. So that loop of mind, body, and emotion, and kind of like, is it kind of like a distraction? Is it like distraction? Is that what you call it? Or would you just call it a change of focus, or
the mind? What exactly are you asking about?
Well, like changing your physiology to change your psychology. Now, could that have just something that's come to me? Could you view that as being dangerous at all if it's just coming from a distraction point of view to avoid an issue, or do you think it can be completely positive?
Well, when you look at it, there's an E, right? That's the emotion part right here. Now, if you change the mind or if you change the body, you get to change this. It's very hard to just change the emotions. I just tell you feel happy. Most of the time, not that easy to do it. So you have those two gateways to change the mind and the body. Now you're asking if it's just going to be a distraction from an issue. The thing is, if you're so involved in the issue, you're not going to solve it because you're just your mind is keep nipping away at you, and you just feel really bad. So by changing your physiology, the issue is still there. I'm not telling you resolving the issue, but you're now coming from a place of power. You're coming from a place of resources. If you're in a problem state, most of the time you lack your resources. For example, a guy who cannot speak in front of people but is a boxer, he has a tremendous amount of resource when he's in the ring, but then when he gets out on stage and supposed to talk to people, he's like, oh my god, you can't talk. That's because he's losing the resource because he's in this negative state. So he's disconnected. Now if you change your physiology, you're now re-entering the space of power of where you have your resources. And then you can actually start to evaluate again the situation from a different point of view. But it's not like, just change your physiology and you forget about the whole thing. No. You change your physiology. Maybe it's not the time to look at it. Yes, that might be true. Maybe you're in a situation that is, you just need to take care of other things. But still, afterwards, go back, look at it.
It's a good platform to get you in that centered state of mind to then go, right, what should we do? I get it. Yeah, great. Awesome, man. Well, was there anything else? Any other stuff that I've missed in terms of trying to summarize that in 2 minutes?
Well, besides the self-hypnosis, but that's what we have just recently covered.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Jachym, I wanna say a genuinely big thank you. I've actually really enjoyed picking your brains. I hope you guys listening have got some useful knowledge, something to think about. I think it's really powerful, that captain and the ship analogy, just to think about, are you the captain of your own ship, or does your crew tell you where to go? I think that's really powerful. So yeah, thank you, Jachym. And before I hand over to any questions, where can people find more information about you? Is there anything as well you want to share, anything that you're doing? I have no idea, but anything you want to share with the group?
All right, just put it into the chat box. It's called hypnotictransformation.com. That is my website. There's not that much information about me personally, but the website, you can find, what I do. Can contact me. Just a little bit to give background, I work regularly with clients on a one-to-one session, so I see clients every week. What I also do is intensive coaching, which might be of interest to some of the people, where I basically take you out of your current living situation, and we go to a different city where you're not familiar with. So all the anchors, all the things that you have associated to the city and to your life that you want to change is out of sight. And for 3 days, we just work together. So you have my full attention, and I work with you. I've also personally been through those 3 days myself. I said I keep taking coachings. I want to see how it is myself. And it's something that does create lasting change. First, I was a little critical, and then I tried and I did it, and it's awesome. You actually get a lot of stuff done that normally would take a year or more to do the transformation that you can do in 3 days. And that's just because you're out of the situation and you have so much attention, and you clearly, at the beginning, you clearly define where you want to go, and you start to solidify it. So when you go back, you might feel at the beginning, I don't know, really, but then it starts to integrate, and your life just starts to change, and you start to see the flowers basically from the hard work that you've done in 3 days.
The bullet takes care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that's something I do, and I very much enjoy doing transformations with people that are bigger. I do remedial change, like for example, stop smoking or phobias. I do those also over Skype, for example, or phone, because they're quite easy to do. There's certain phobias that take longer, for example, throwing up phobia, or social phobias sometimes take longer. It depends on how long they have been in place. So, for example, if someone has not talked to people for 10 or 20 years, their social skills might have decreased a little bit, naturally. So that takes a little bit longer to build up. Not for the phobia to get rid of, but actually to build up more positive feedback, so you can actually have the feeling of that. But in general, phobias and stop smoking is something that's quite easy to change 1 or 2 sessions on. And of course, anyone who is listening to this right now, if you want a session with me, you can just contact me on. Let me just put my email in. And just let me know that you have been to at this call, and I'll give you a discount. I'll give you a about 30% discount on my session. That's fine.
Oh, you're so generous, mate. Does that count for me as well?
Yes, that counts for you too.
Awesome.
All right. So, are there any questions?
Yeah. Sorry. Before I know I keep saying before the questions, but you reminded me as well. I just want to let you 4, 5, 6 people here make you aware of this Sunday. If any of you guys are around in London, in Central London, Goode Street, if you haven't checked the meetup already, I'm doing a seminar in person. I'm coming back after a 6-week break. I'm raring to go, and this seminar is about being happier, about feeling happier. In brief, I don't mean necessarily that happiness, which is just an emotional high, a pleasure happiness of like, oh, I'm so happy about everything all the time and I can't stop smiling. It's more about that deeper sense of happiness, that deeper sense of contentment within, where essentially you're waking up in the morning and you've just got a nice, peaceful smile because deep down you feel content with where you are, with who you are, and where you are in your life. And I've found that most people, including myself, look for happiness, which actually in itself is a trick of the mind, and also where they are looking is completely the wrong place. So this seminar is about trying to just get people looking in the right place in the first place, so they're actually in the game, and very, very simple yet profound principles that I've found. So come on down for that. If you're not doing anything, it's going to be really good fun. I'm just so eager to do it, so I want as many people there as possible. It will be really good. And the other thing that you made me think of, Jachym, was I've got my own 3-day retreat in June, 13th, 14th, 15th of June, and this is again about taking people out from the crowded city life where you're just having the same thoughts, these 60,000 thoughts a day we have on average, that most of them are just repetitions of the ones before, and it's about sucking you out of that and getting some space, some clarity, and that is where the magic happens. I'm not going to say any more about it. If you want to check out the details, it's on Meetup, but yeah, I'm very excited about that as well. So I will stop now talking and hand over to any questions. If you do have a question, I can unmute you and you can actually verbally share with the group. So thank you, Jachym.
Thank you. And by the way, go to his event. He's really good.
Hey, I'm all right. So any questions, guys? Atul, Ian, hey, Martin, Matt, who's just come, and I think someone's just joined now, Chiara, which is at least come for the questions.
Well, there's a replay, so.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's true. Yeah, you guys who've come late, the whole thing is on YouTube live, and it's gonna just save automatically on my YouTube channel, so you can watch the whole thing. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Love to hear some questions.
Thank you, Ian, for coming.
Thanks, Ian. Come on, I fancy a bit of a discussion. I don't want to go to bed.
Well, do you have any questions?
I've asked you enough questions, mate. I've had enough of your voice. I'm joking. Alright, doesn't look like anyone's got any questions. Anyone got anything just personally in their life that they struggle with in terms of confidence and anxiety or anything? This is your chance to get two crazy men's opinions and not opinions, but advice on. So this is your chance. Well, I guess everyone has been cured by your webinar. No one has any questions.
Yes, at all. Please.
Yeah, go on, mate. Don't be shy.
You want to mute himself, or are you going to ask on the chat?
Let's get him off. Let's get him in. All right. Atul, so you just need to unmute yourself now, and then you're in. Oh.
How can I de-anger?
Okay, let's do. Well, we'll do Atul first, and then do Ian after.
Okay.
Atul, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that, guys. That was really useful. Appreciate you doing that. Yeah, I really like the whole captain and crew analogy, because it just goes to show that you can be in control by sort of telling the captain what to do and then let everything else work itself out.
Yeah.
So I guess my question, which is probably quite relevant for other people as well, is when you get into like a negative thought pattern loop and you just can't bloody get out of it. And Sam sort of mentioned it when he has to go on to perform on an open mic night, so that the negative loop would be I don't know, something like I'm gonna go on stage and mess it up or something. So yeah, I guess so. Practically speaking, how can you sort of snap out of that? That
How
loop.
can you snap out of the negative loop, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What have you done anything so far for snapping out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that sort of Tony Robbins technique, sort of
Yes.
saying, what do I really want instead of worrying about what's going to go wrong. And yeah, that can work sometimes, but I think it's almost quite difficult to consciously snap out of it or come to a sort of state of awareness where you think, hang on a minute, there's something, I've got into this loop again, and somehow I need to do something about it because it just
Okay.
goes under the radar almost all the time.
Yeah. What kind of environment are you in when this happens? Like, are you in a work environment or are you by yourself? Like, because depending on where you are, there are different things you can do. If you're like in a meeting, it's a little hard to do certain things. So, can you just share what environment would you be that in?
I guess it's it can be just very quiet sometimes, just worry or sort of just thinking about a certain situation and then
Yeah.
thinking about it again and again. Yeah.
So, just thinking about a situation, you start to have this thought loop, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just getting quite worried about it, or like I should be doing this, but I'm not. I'm not doing this. Like say I should be making more phone calls, client phone calls, or I should be doing this and this, and then I'm not, and then it sort of makes it worse by not doing it, and then sort of the whole thing falls apart until
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So there's a lot. If I'm right, there's a lot of should and certain ideas that you think you have to do something, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Um, so no, we're not in coaching, but what I would be curious is how do you actually start to think that you should do that? Because we were talking again, about the captain and the ship, and now there is value in sometimes in planning, but there's also value in setting the intention. So if you're talking about cold calls or something like that, maybe it's to bring up a business or something like that, or sell something. Um, there's an intention behind it. There's an intent you wanna fulfill. It might be that you want to earn more money, for example, or it might be to feel happier. I don't know what it will be, but when you take going back to metaphor, that's basically where the captain says, "I want to go there," right? And
Yeah.
instead of the captain running around, be like, "Okay, I have in order to get there, I have to do this and this and this and this and this," right? So, but now that might be at the beginning, like, okay, I don't know how to do that. It's a little bit too much, right? So when you get into this thing of I should do this, I should do that, I would really recommend try the walk. Try to go for a walk, try the breathing, forget about the whole thing, just go out. 5 minutes is enough. You don't have to go for a half an hour, 5 minutes is absolutely enough. Go for a walk, count your breathing, do it with those fingers because it totally keeps you absorbed, right? And when you're walking, you start to carry yourself different. So you will be now from a platform of power. Will come from more to assess the situation differently. Okay,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then you can say, okay, I want to do the cold call, and it might be a good idea to just go and do it. And if you're afraid, and you come now from this power state, it's much more easier to go for it. Okay, that's something I would recommend. I'm sure Sam has also something that he will share on that idea probably.
I have literally no idea. No. Cool. So basically just changing physiology, just boom like that. Don't even make it into a thing. Now, yeah, what I'd say is as well as that, start thinking already about almost like battle preparation. So, what would you actually? How would you like your mind actually to be performing in that state, in that potentially stressful state, instead of the current loop, which is, oh, should do this, should do that, blah 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 blah. What would the actual preferred state of mind be?
Yeah. Okay. So it'll be more, like I said, just be relaxed and very focused and clear.
feeling relaxed, focused, clear,
Mm.
letting things flow naturally, just feeling at ease.
Yeah, exactly. Not being tense
Yeah.
or worried about what could happen. Just be okay with it and get into flow, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I recommend, like what I've done when I've had little loops and stuff, I use like what Jachym was saying, like when I get in the loops, I'm like, shit, alright, change my physiology, try and do these little things in the moment to move myself out of it. But in preparation, in between, when I'm feeling good, I use that time when I'm feeling good to like build up even more power and defense, let's say presence power. So when you're feeling good, especially like when you first wake up or just before you go to bed, because that's when your subconscious is so ready to take in information, especially before going to bed, because it literally just works on, as you sleep, it just works on for those 7, 8, 9 hours. Your brain is just focusing on that, the last thing that you focus on. So I would start implanting with authority as a captain that state of mind that you do want to be more consistent. If that makes sense. So, you know, create your own little relaxation mantra, for example. Like I have my own warrior mantra, let's say, which has really helped me have a consistent level of strength, inner strength and confidence dealing with situations. I'm not perfect, but it's definitely increased that consistency because it's something which I've got on a daily basis there to kind of build up. So you want to start building up your defenses, not just waiting for your, you know, for your guard to be down and be in that loop and go, shit, I've got to deal with it now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I see. That's yeah, just thinking of it at a different time.
Like basically just preparing yourself for it with the opposite of what actually how you want to be. And also, really, what it comes down to is, if ever I am in that loop, then the best thing I will do, even more than having a walk, which can have the same effect to an extent, is I will look to get in touch with my being as quickly as possible. So what I mean by that is the part of me that is not my mind. This is why meditation is my number one practice. So I will just know that, oh, hang on a minute, when I'm feeling stressed, I'm not feeling right. I know that's not me. I know that's not me. I'm not identified with that. I'm like, there's something wrong there in the ship. Like the captain's not there. So I need to just go, drop everything for now, not try and, you know, don't try and do more things or distract myself. Just need to get the captain back in that ship. So however long that takes, that's the number one priority, because otherwise nothing is going to work in the ship anymore. Because often people will try and fix all the problems in the ship without installing the captain back in place. Then you can deal with the other problems. So go take 5 minutes if you can, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and just meditate, just relax until you get in touch with that part of you where you can actually watch your mind instead of being your mind. And then you will kind of smile and go, oh my God, that's all just mental illusion. Because all these worries and anxieties are really just trying to protect the image, your self-image of Atul, right? The self-image, the Atul Rana man. Like your mind is trying to protect that. So shit, can't fuck this up, can't do this, got to make sure we're there, make sure people aren't looking at us like this. And all it is just people, your mind trying to protect this image of you that is, has, you know, basically come from your upbringing that we all have to a certain extent. So it's about looking at that, laughing and going, my mind is literally just trying to protect the image, the self-image that's just in my head anyway. Like, I'm actually just here, alive, with a heartbeat and a breath. Let's get. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes
kind of laughing at it.
Yeah, separating yourself out from like all the crap that's going on.
Absolutely, yeah. And something you might try also, because I know I've had meditation experience myself, and sometimes, especially if the loop is very strong, it's very hard to do the meditation right away. So what I've learned is mindful movement. What does that mean is that, for example, you do a half push-up against the wall, but you do it very slow, and you become very mindful of each muscle that you start to activate. So you do very slow. And I think it forces you basically back into presence, because you have to be very aware of the present to be able to do this kind of movement. You can do it with a squat too. Slowly getting up. I'm serious, like really slow. So you kind of feel a burn in your thigh or in your arms. It's like slow, and you have to really focus to get it done. And if you've done a few of mindful movements like that, and then you go and do the meditation, very powerful, absolutely great to do it. As a side note, also, if you're afraid of cold calling, try grab a friend and run through it. And also, once you're ready, let the friend make your worst reality come true, basically, and see how it is how will it actually be, Because sometimes we think it's terrible, and and then you face it and you're like, that wasn't that bad. That wasn't that bad at all, right? And the thing is, especially with your cold call companies, for example, they will be always very friendly, because the thing is, they don't want to ruin their reputation. So if they're going to be unfriendly on the phone to you, that's that's my experience with cold calls. I've done them too myself, and most of the time they're very friendly. When you become a little bit more persistent, maybe they become a little bit less friendly, but in general, they are employed, they have an image they have to keep up. Maybe that's something that just, really a topic that could be useful for you.
Oh, awesome, man. I like that little side topic. So is that good at all? Do you feel like you
it's
got...
really good. Yeah, there's some really good tips there. Just going out for a walk and those slow press ups to get yourself out. That's really cool. Yeah, thanks very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Vettel. Yeah, I think just before we go into Ian's question, really, this is profound, but fear only exists in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fear does not exist in the present moment. It never can exist, because when you're present, fear is actually just an illusionary projection of the future. It's all in your head. It's very, very profound if this actually sinks in. And because even if someone's coming at you with a knife or a gun, there's danger. Like, you deal with it. You deal with it. You're like, right, shit, flight or fight. Yeah, okay, there will be a sense of fear, that flight or fight sensation in your body. You run, you punch, you whatever. But there's no like, oh God, what if he comes here? And it's not like you're in your daily basis going, I wonder if someone's going to knife me today. I wonder if someone's going to shoot me today. Today could be the day that someone shoots me. That fear is just as real as the fear that actually comes when someone has a gun right at your head. But one is healthy, one is completely unhealthy. One is just in the moment as a way of protecting us, and one is just mental bullshit, for want of a better word. So yeah, your mindful push-ups, what that is doing is that it's forcing you to go in the moment. Because in this moment, if you're truly in this moment, there can never be any fear, because you can always deal with this moment. Always deal with this moment, and it's the only moment you ever have. It's the only moment you ever have. You don't get another moment. This is very, very profound. I'll let. I think this is more in your domain, mate. Ian's asked, how can I de-anchor the anxiety from my work environment?
It's a good question. The thing is, I know perfectly fine how to do it with a client, right? Because I do those. The thing is, how you can do it yourself is, okay, what I would be curious about, if you think now about your work environment, do you feel anxiety? That would be a question. If to answer it, I'll just keep going. So if you feel the anxiety, that's very good. You might not feel that it's good, but it's very good because we can work on it right now. If you feel the anxiety, make a movement that represents that anxiety. So it can be something like this. Right? So you anchor basically your body, your anxiety that you feel in your work. Now it might be a little strange that you do that, but it has a reason. Because if you anchor it to your physiology, you can now work with it without having to think about the whole work. You can go right back to the anxiety and the work. And the next step will be to think about resources. How do you feel when you're powerful? How do you feel? How would you like to feel at work? And where do you feel like that? It could be being on a walk. It could be with friends. I don't know where it is. And then you anchor that with a different movement, for example, fist. Right? Now you repeat those several times so you can make the fist and you feel, there's a good feeling coming of power, feeling happy. Next thing you do both at the same time. Okay? So you think about work, but you do this. So now both anchors are fired at the same time. And your brain is like, oh my god, which one should I choose? You know, what's going on? Suddenly, you don't have a clear neurological path that is being fired because you've anchored two things at the same time, which starts to scramble it. Right now, you're work anxiety, work anxiety. Now it's like, wait, and suddenly it might even start to feel like a little bit blank. You're like, wait a moment, I'm supposed to feel anxious? You know, like it starts to not make sense anymore because you have anchored it strongly into you. The absolutely key to anchoring anything is that you have to have something, a unique movement. Okay, so if you just do this, it might work, but make something that is unique. Also, do it at the peak of the emotion, so you really feel the anxiety, really feel the power. That's when you're going to anchor. It's not when you're like, oh yes, I kind of feel it. No, no, no. Wait till you actually feel it. Do anything you want. Go into the situation if you want to anchor it and repeat it. If you actually set the anchor properly, it doesn't need that much repetition. And then collapse the anchor together. So basically there are two things. And it can't go back in the same way because it's now like, what's going on? And suddenly you have now a blank space that you can work from, where you can think about work and be like, yes, that's good, okay? It might work. I can't guarantee you because there might be different issues with it. But I would definitely give it a fair try. Try it, really try it, go for it. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. There are other things you can do. You can go to a coach, or you can do self-hypnosis or something like that. Just go for it. Because sometimes, like with phobias, we create... All right, let me check. You just wrote something. Should I do deep breaths at the same time? Sure, if that helps you. Especially, I would adapt the physiology you feel. So, for example, if you feel anxious, you feel like this. Maybe a little bit like this. If you feel powerful, you feel more like this. So it's a whole body anchor it starts to become. And then you do both together. And so if you do deep breaths when you feel powerful, do that, absolutely. Then once you have the clean slate and you start to anchor with just one thing and thinking about work, and starts to become a new association together, do the deep breaths. Bring yourself into the present moment. That's something I would highly recommend to you, and I'm actually looking forward to, maybe you will write me an email to let me know how it went. But what I want to say before I read your question is that the unconscious mind associates things. So now you have the association, work, anxiety, right? Now, by starting to associate different things, coming different anchors in, the association starts to break up. And there might be certain reasons why the anxiety is there, right? To have a certain intention. Sometimes it's a good intention. Like, for example, I had a boy or a guy who came to me, he was stealing, but for him it was at home. So he was 17, he was at home, he was stealing, they locked everything, the install camera was crazy. And the intention behind this behavior, even though he didn't really want it, it was that when he steals something, he gets attention. It's not a positive intention. The intention is positive, but the behavior is not positive. Intention, yes, I want attention to myself, I want awareness from my parent, for example, that's good. Stealing, not good. There's different ways to do it, okay? So with collapsing the anchors, take for example this, will have you to start creating new blank slate for you, and if the intention is being met by your new state, you will be absolutely fine. If not, maybe we'll come back, but you will have a new perspective now. You're like, all right, this is something deeper. This is something I need to change more. It's not just the association. There's something more I want to change. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I'm just saying as well, Medea has made a good point of breathing deep into your heart. I like that. And what that's actually made me think of is, again, it's impossible to feel anxiety or to be fearful if you are tapping into the feeling of love. It's actually impossible. If you are feeling love, if you're feeling gratitude, you're feeling compassion, if you're really feeling love, if you guys can think back to the last time you felt really loving towards someone, really grateful, really appreciative, maybe with a family member, a friend, a partner, you can't feel, you're not scared. As cheesy as it sounds, love is the most powerful weapon. It really does beat everything. You can't actually feel fear. So thanks, Medea, for reminding me about that. So are there any other questions?
Just to add, so also to de-anchor, you actually can do that. You can practice the breathing, then go into work, and then practice the breathing right there. That's also something you can do. So you will start to have a new anchor by just going in. You can play around with those two, but that's a very good point. You can actually do it this way too.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, if there are no more questions, then we'll be wrapping up. So I'll just wait another 10 seconds to see if anyone's going to get on board. Look, the questions have gone on for ages, mate. Awesome. I thought we weren't going to have any at the beginning. I thought, well, quiet bunch, this lot. All right, awesome. Well, guys, going to wrap it up. So, massive thank you for actually coming on board and listening. Yes, if there's any questions you have about what you've heard today, you know, give myself or give Jachym, probably Jachym, a mail if it's about the hypnosis side of things. I'm sure he'll be willing to help you guys out. And thank you, Jachym, again. And I look forward to speaking to you in, is it 2 weeks' time, have we said?
Yes. Come on in 2 weeks. I will be really frying this guy's brain this time.
Yeah.
I'm building a rock solid self-esteem, so do not miss that because I'm sure you will have a lot to share.
Awesome. Yes, I will. Oh shit, that's my cue, right? Yeah. I will have a lot to share. Yes, Jachym's going to pick my brains on building up a rock solid self-esteem, something which I've done a lot of work on with clients and myself. So. Awesome. All right. Speak to you guys later and have a beautiful evening. See you later, guys.
And Chiara, if you want to listen